Chapter 10. Ulysses Reflects. Ulysses Johnson sat at a table in his hotel room, positioned so that he could gaze at the stalled traffic 6 stories down and still keep track of the 8 TV shows displayed on the wall screen. He occasionally glanced down at his China buffet to go. 12 small entrees meticulously arranged in styrofoam compartments. So-so cuisine meets packaging brilliance is how HoustonTown.com described CBTG. But for Ulysses' taste, the CBTG comestibles surpassed even the styrofoam wonders that contained it. Ethnic food of any kind was still a treat for Ulysses. His father was suspicious of gimmicks like pizzas and tacos and spring rolls. Just real food in this house. Ulysses laughed at his father's fear of all things novel. The Johnsons ate well, but the family's diet had not changed much since the ancestors got their first indoor stove. This bothered Ulysses more than it bothered the other Johnson children. With the voice command, Ulysses closed the chess channel, the contest channel, the game channel, the poker channel, the Joseph Business channel, the Motorhead channel, and Spring Break network. The walls became the ocean view Ulysses used to savor at his house in the Bahamas. If only Victoria had said yes to his proposal. But she rejected him because he was crazy. The border between normal and crazy was an invisible line that ran through a thick pine forest. Crazy people knew that. Why didn't everyone know that? The key to mental health, Ulysses pronounced as if he were addressing the United Nations, is controlling the internal dialogue. Mental health research was the path not taken for Ulysses. The subject had always fascinated him. His degree was in psychology, and had not his father insisted that he work at Harris County Community Supervision, he might have made the study of mental health his life's work. He had been out and back several times himself, and he frequently debriefed the certifiably crazy about their own subjective experiences. He had acquired the right combination of first-hand and third-hand observations. Someday he would explain it all to the world. Ulysses used a slice of the wall screen to display a journal he had stored in a remote corner of the internet. The treatment of mental illness often involves the suppression of voices, but sometimes it is the voices that keep a person safe from extreme displays of bad judgment. Ulysses recalled his early years when he was taught to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit. When he was 8 years old, his oldest sister Gail and their father went to a church on a Wednesday afternoon. Their purpose was to sit in silence and to summon the Holy Spirit and to seek his counsel on a matter that required his judgment. What was the weighty matter that required divine intervention? They called upon the Holy Spirit to guide them on the purchase of a used car priced at a few $100s. Ulysses made note of his elders consulting the Holy Spirit on subjects mundane, and he soon did likewise. Ulysses freely shared his religious insights for years to come. He wasn't bothered when word got back to him that people thought he was a bit odd. You were supposed to talk to God, but God was not supposed to talk to you? Despite the raised eyebrows, Ulysses shared his revelations. But then, in what was to be a harbinger of what would happen with Victoria years later, a girl named Jeanette refused to go to a dance with him because, in her words, he was nuts. Humiliated, embarrassed, and ashamed, Ulysses stopped hearing the voice of the Holy Spirit. It was on that day that I went loony. Ulysses would later be diagnosed as bipolar hypomanic. The maniac behaves strangely not because voices tell him to behave strangely, but rather because voices stop saying, "Don't be a fool." The voice that reminds us it's a bad idea to write lewd messages to the president's wife falls silent. The voice that reminds us to lift our foot from the gas pedal falls silent. The voice that reminds us to wear our clothes in public goes mute. Mania is the result of turning a deaf ear to God's wisdom. Ulysses walked to the window and savored the view. Part of a golf course, a flourishing industrial park, and stalled traffic in every direction. 3 lanes eastbound, stalled. 3 lanes westbound, stalled. 4 lanes northbound, stalled. 4 lanes southbound, stalled. When the hell are they going to invent those hovercraft? He said aloud. Ulysses completed about half of his CBTG. He would probably eat another third of it at midnight snack and then eat the rest for breakfast. He stuffed the leftovers in the fridge and collapsed on his bed with the Bahamian waves hitting high tide on the wall screen. Jim Garfield was successful. No doubt about it. He was sandbagging. No telling how much cash he was reeling in. But he wasn't going to give his old community supervisor anything but table scraps. Who the hell gave him his first break? Who helped him get his foot in the door? Who jump-started his career? How many CS is going to do that for a small-time con? And what do we get? Table scraps. What's that they tell salesmen? Get past the gatekeeper. Well, old Ulysses Grant Johnson got past the gatekeepers. He had an audience with King James, and the king didn't budge. Ulysses closed his eyes and listened to the rhythm of the waves. From deep within, a faint voice emerged. You need leverage. Ulysses nodded and then floated off to sleep.